Camila and Alejandro Vega have redefined legacy, building Lucia Group on transparency, love, and second chances. But in the Vows that claim the throne Part 2, their new empire is threatened when Ramon, once thought neutralized, resurfaces with mysterious heiress, old enemies, and buried secrets, including one from Mexico City that could ruin Alejandro for good. As Camila's father wages a cold war from exile, Rafael is lured into Ramon's camp with promises of redemption, and a child from Alejandro's past arrives claiming inheritance rights. The couple must face their greatest challenge. Can love survive the empire it created? Everything ends here. Welcome to Stories Box, where every tale unlocks a new world. Dive into stories that stay with you long after the last word. Subscribe, sit back, and step into our binge-worthy story, because the best moments begin with Once Upon a Time. The early morning light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Vega estate, casting golden streaks across polished marble and framed photographs of victory. But the calm was deceptive, like the hush before a storm. Camila Estrada Vega stood in the east hallway of the Lucia Group's headquarters, watching the city awaken. In her hand, she held a letter postmarked from Mexico. Her fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of yet another unknown. Behind her, Alejandro approached silently. "You're up early," he said, his voice still heavy with sleep. She turned. "There's something you need to see." He took the envelope from her hand and frowned. It wasn't a name on the return address that shook him. It was a name on the inside, in tight, careful handwriting. "To Alejandro Vega, from your daughter, Lucia." His breath caught. I don't understand," he said. Camila looked away. "I think you do." They met Lucia that afternoon in the gardens, where the spring roses had just begun to bloom. She was 14, petite with dark hair, serious eyes, and a notebook clutched like armor. Her guardian, a woman named Clarita, stood beside her protectively, watching Alejandro with the quiet fury of someone who'd waited too long for answers. "I wrote 5 letters before this one," Lucia said bluntly. "None got answered." Alejandro blinked. "I never saw them." Clarita scoffed. "Of course you didn't. We didn't know what name you were using. We didn't know where to look until your speech last month went viral." Camila sat beside the girl, softly. "How do you know he's your father?" Lucia pulled something from her notebook. A photo of a younger Alejandro, wild-eyed and sunburned, standing beside Clarita outside a small warehouse in Mexico City. "That's him. 19. Worked with my mother at the shipping yard. Disappeared before I was born." Alejandro stared at the image, memory flooding in. That summer, the mistakes, the fire, the escape. The woman, her name had been Maria. He hadn't known she was pregnant. "Your mother?" he asked. "She died 3 years ago." "Cancer," Clarita said. "Lucia stayed with me." Alejandro crouched to her level. "Lucia, I'm so sorry. I didn't know." Lucia looked at him with something too mature for her years. That's what they all say. That evening, Camila and Alejandro sat in the study. The DNA test confirmation unopened between them. "What if it's true?" he whispered. Camila didn't answer for a moment. "Then we do what we've always done, face it." Alejandro's face twisted with guilt. "I destroyed a life back then, Camila. The fire, the running. What if I can't undo that?" "You can't," she said, "but you can choose not to repeat it." He picked up the envelope and ripped it open. Silence. He read the result. Positive. Alejandro de la Vega. 99.8% probability of paternity. He laughed once, quiet and bitter, and dropped the paper on the floor. "I have a daughter." Camila stood and came to him. "Then she becomes part of this family." "But my past, Mexico, the fire, Ramon's going to use this. He'll twist her into something." "No," she interrupted. "He doesn't get to twist anything anymore. She's not a pawn." He looked up at her. "Do you really think you can forgive me for this?" Camila's eyes burned, but her voice didn't waver. "I don't have to forgive you for your past, Alejandro. I only need to know who you are now." Across the country, a different kind of storm brewed. In an underground wine cellar built like a war room, Ramon de la Vega raised a glass of red to a woman in silver heels and a scarlet dress. Lucia's arrival is perfect, he said. A scandal ready to burst. The woman smiled, calculating. So we trigger it? Ramon chuckled. No, we let it simmer. Meanwhile, the next phase begins. He handed her a sealed envelope marked with Estrada Holdings. Izzy, my dear, let's break their foundation. You attack from the business side. I'll burn the rest from within. Isabel Duarte lifted the wine glass. To burning empires. They clinked, back at the estate. Lucia sat on the window ledge of the guest room, looking out at vineyards she didn't yet feel a part of. Camila entered quietly and offered her a cup of hot cocoa. Lucia took it, cautious. I didn't come here for sympathy, she said. Or money. Camila nodded. Then why? Lucia hesitated. I want to know why he left, why he disappeared. And if he's like me... Camila smiled, her voice gentle. He's made of a lot of mistakes, but also love. And I think you are too. Lucia stared down at the cocoa. Does that mean I belong here? Camila reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind the girl's ear. It means you never didn't. The next morning, Alejandro stood at the balcony, watching the sun rise. Lucia appeared beside him, holding her sketchbook. You were 19? She asked. Yes. She nodded. Me too soon. I missed everything, he said softly. She shrugged. You're here now. He turned to her. If you want to be part of this family, Lucia, I won't just allow it. I'll fight for it. For you. She looked at him, and then slowly, ever so cautiously, leaned against his side. A silent beginning. A buried fire. Now rekindled in something new. Not destruction, but love. The gala was invitation only. Inside the mirrored ballroom of the Duarte Legacy Tower in downtown San Diego, crystal chandeliers glittered over silk gowns, clinking glasses and billion-dollar conversations. At the head of it all stood Isabel Duarte, dressed in blood-red velvet, a calculated smile on her lips as she welcomed the board of Duarte Global back from the dead. They think I crawled away after my family fell, she murmured to Ramon beside her. Let's show them I've been building an arsenal. Ramon de la Vega raised his glass. Tonight, we introduced a new era. Isabel clinked her flute against his and turned toward the spotlight. Cameras flashed. Investors leaned in. And let's finally end theirs. Meanwhile, at the Vega estate, Alejandro sat across from Lucia in the breakfast room, her sketchbook lying open between them. You draw like your mother, he said, his voice thick with memory. She used to draw the city skyline during her night shifts. Lucia smiled softly, and for a moment, peace reigned. But Camila stepped in, holding a silver tablet with breaking news across the screen. Duarte Global announces hostile expansion. New CEO, Isabel Duarte. A photo of Isabel standing beside Ramon filled the screen. Alejandro stood slowly, the color draining from his face. She's back, Camila said. And she's with him, he growled. Later that afternoon, Camila and Alejandro met with Navarro and Rafael in the underground vault office of Lucia Group. The walls were lined with old de la Vega records, blueprints, and uncashed bearer bonds, symbols of generations of power. She's proposing a reverse merger, Navarro said, tapping on his laptop. It's aggressive and fast. If even 20% of our investors jump, Duarte can force a seat on our board. Alejandro rubbed his temple. And the link to Ramon? Navarro turned the screen toward him. Surveillance footage of Ramon meeting with Duarte Global execs in Madrid. Weeks ago. Rafael leaned forward. There's something else. Duarte has a controlling stake in Estrada Holdings. She's been buying us out for months through shell companies. Camila, she may own more of your family's company than your father does. Camila inhaled sharply. She's not just coming for Alejandro's crown. She's coming for both legacies. Across town, Isabel sat in a glass-walled office overlooking the city skyline. She watched footage of Camila's most recent press appearance, pausing on a frame of her smiling beside Alejandro and Lucia. She looks happy, Isabel said, her voice cold. An assistant entered. Should I initiate the media leak? Isabel didn't look up. Yes. Release the Mexico City fire footage. The moment he lights the match. The footage hit the networks by nightfall. A grainy video from 2006 showed a young man, undeniably Alejandro, striking a match near a warehouse door. A second explosion followed. Fire bloomed. Alejandro de la Vega, arsonist prince, read the headline. Within minutes, hashtags exploded across platforms. Investors panicked. Lucia Group stock dropped by 9%. At home, Lucia stood in the hallway staring at the footage on her phone. "You really did it," she whispered, eyes wide. Alejandro came to her side. "It was an accident. I didn't mean to." "You still did it," she whispered again, then backed away and shut herself in her room. In the boardroom, emergency lights flickered over arguments. "They'll vote to remove you," Navarro warned. Alejandro stood still, staring out the window. "Let them. I deserve it." "No, you don't," Camila said firmly. "You made a mistake. But that doesn't mean you hand the company to people who will burn it down." Navarro hesitated. "There's one option. You step aside voluntarily. For now, make Camila interim chair. Buy us breathing room." Alejandro looked at her. Her eyes didn't waver. "I can hold the empire, but only if you trust me." After a long pause, he nodded once. "Make the announcement." An hour later, Camila stood at the Lucia Group press podium. With Mr. de la Vega's full support, she announced, "I will be serving as interim chairperson until this matter is resolved." Lucia Group remained committed to integrity, transparency, and family. The applause was polite, but the tension was war-thick. As she stepped down, a reporter called out, "Mrs. Vega, some say you were never the rightful heir to Estrada Holdings. Can you speak on that?" Camila's smile faltered, but only for a second. "I'll let the truth speak for itself," she said. At Duarte Tower, Isabel smiled as the live stream ended. She took the bait. Ramon sipped his wine. Now comes the bloodletting. Isabel clicked on a new file. A scanned page from a birth certificate. A signature scrawled in faded ink. "Ready for the next bomb?" Ramon grinned. "Is that?" She nodded. Camila Estrada's paternity, open for the world. Back in her private suite, Camila stared at an old photo from her mother's collection. Ana Estrada, young and glowing, beside a man whose face had been ripped out. Her mother's voice echoed from a decade ago. "Not all blood is family. Some is betrayal." Camila whispered to herself, almost prayer-like, "We've fought worse, but not like this." And just as she turned to close the folder, her phone buzzed. Anonymous message. "He was never your father. ID." Camila's eyes widened. The cracks in the empire were widening. And this time, the enemy wore the face of family. The storm outside had just begun when Rafael de la Vega stepped into the wine cellar under the Vega estate, the same cellar where Ramon once whispered betrayals in the dark. Now, it was Rafael's turn to whisper. He lit a single candle on the long mahogany table and stared at the envelope in his hand. Inside was something he hadn't dared imagine. Evidence linking Camila Estrada's father not to Vicente Estrada, but to Ramon de la Vega. "She's his daughter," Rafael said aloud to himself, disbelief cracking in his voice. "This changes everything." Behind him, a soft click echoed. The door. It was Lucia. "You shouldn't be here," he said quickly, trying to hide the envelope. She stepped into the dim light. "I followed you. You've been acting weird since the footage came out." Rafael exhaled. "That's not something you want to get involved in, kid." Lucia stepped closer. "I'm not a kid. I'm your niece." There was a beat of silence before Rafael gave her a weary smile. Half of this family doesn't even know whose niece they really are anymore. He handed her the envelope. She read it. Her face paled. "Camila is Ramon's daughter?" Rafael nodded. "Which means everything she's touched. Estrada Holdings, Lucia Group, it's under Ramon's shadow now. Even Alejandro's marriage." Lucia looked up, her voice cracking. "Does she know?" "No," he said. "Not yet. And if Ramon leaks this before we do, it could tear her apart." Elsewhere, Camila stood before the Estrada patriarch, her alleged father, at his private estate in Santa Barbara. "You lied to me," she said. Vicente Estrada didn't flinch. "To protect you." You knew he might not be my father and never told me? She asked, trembling. I gave you my name, my legacy. What does blood matter? Vicente snapped. He left. I stayed. I raised you as my own. Camila shook her head. The truth matters, especially now. Ramon is coming, and if the story breaks, everything I built will turn to ash. Vicente stepped closer, then stopped digging. Sometimes the truth is poison, but Camila had already made up her mind. I need to know who I really am. Back at the Vega estate, Alejandro walked into boardroom to find Navarro pacing. Stock stabilizing, Navarro said, but there's a new issue. Isabel just acquired 11% of Lucia Group's shares, legally. We can't block it. Alejandro frowned. She's not just building leverage, she's aiming for the chair. Navarro sighed. You have two choices. Fight back publicly or take Camila down privately before Isabel does. Alejandro slammed a fist on the table. We are not turning on each other. We stand as one. Navarro studied him. Even if she's not who she says she is? Alejandro paused. Especially then. That night, Camila met Raphael under the fig tree on the estate, where secrets were often whispered. I need to ask you something, she said quietly. Do you think I belong here? Even if I'm not an Estrada? Raphael looked at her. Belonging doesn't come from a name. It comes from what you fight for. She smiled faintly. You're not going to like what I found. Raphael raised an eyebrow. Try me. She pulled out a folded document. A paternity test in progress. I sent for the truth. Raphael inhaled sharply. Camila, you don't know what that truth will do. I do, she said. That's why I have to be ready when it comes. The next day, Alejandro received a surprise visitor at the vineyard, Isabel Duarte. She wore a white suit and sunglasses, like a wolf wrapped in silk. Nice land, she said, looking out across the rows. Shame if it burned again. Alejandro's jaw tightened. What do you want? A deal, she said, handing him a flash drive. Evidence that your wife has been lying about her bloodline. Straight from Ramon's vault. Alejandro didn't touch it. Get off my land. Isabel smiled. You'd rather hear it from the tabloids? Or Lucia? She'd been asking questions. Alejandro stepped forward. If you come after my daughter, I will burn down everything you've built. Isabel turned and walked toward her car. Your wife will be your empire's end, Alejandro. And if you don't act, I will. At the estate, Lucia sat with Camila in the garden, sketching. You love him, right? Lucia asked. Camila nodded. I do. And you're not pretending or hiding something else? Camila put her hand over Lucia's. I'd never lie to you. Lucia smiled, but something in her eyes flickered doubt. She'd seen the envelope. She'd seen the fire footage. And she had the name Ramon etched into her mind like a scar. That evening, Camila opened her email and saw the results of the paternity test. She clicked, and her world stopped. Paternity probability, 99.9%, Ramon de la Vega. Her breath left her in one gasp. She looked at her reflection in the screen, then turned to the door, and there stood Alejandro. His eyes found hers. He saw the results. He saw her tears. He stepped forward, slowly. You're his daughter? Camila whispered, I didn't know. Alejandro stepped back. No, he said quietly. But now, I do. The sun dipped low over the hills as Camila Estrada de la Vega stared at the old woman at the gates of the estate. Her hands weathered, her eyes sharp. Anna! Camila's voice cracked. Ana Estrada hadn't been seen in nearly 2 decades. Rumors claimed she was living in a monastery in Spain. Others said she'd vanished to escape Don Manuel's wrath. But now, she stood face to face with the daughter she once abandoned. I didn't know where else to go, Ana said softly. You deserve the truth. Camila opened the gates. The past was walking in. They sat in the drawing room. Quiet at first. Camila's hands trembled around her teacup. You left when I was 8, Camila whispered. You never came back. I was protecting you, Ana said. Your father, your real father, wouldn't have let me speak the truth. Camila's chest tightened. What do you mean? I already know about Ramon, the paternity test. Anna shook her head. It's more complicated than that. She pulled out a bundle of age journals wrapped in silk. These are mine, she said, from the years before and after your birth. You'll find letters from Ramon, from Don Manuel, even from Hugo de la Vega. Everything is in there. Camila reached for the bundle, and then Anna dropped the match. You may not be Don Manuel's daughter, but you're not Ramon's either. Meanwhile, at Lucia Group headquarters, Navarro was reviewing legal filings when Alejandro entered the room with a grim expression. She's here, Alejandro said. Her mother? Navarro looked up. Ana Estrada? She was presumed dead. Not anymore. And she brought journals. Says Camila's paternity test might have been manipulated. Navarro rubbed his temples. We need to tread carefully. If Ramon orchestrated this false identity play, we may be able to dismantle his legal claim. And if Anna's telling the truth? Alejandro asked. Then Camila has been fighting a war based on a lie. Navarro said gravely. And we may lose her. Back at the estate, Camila opened one of Anna's journals. A press flower fell out. And then a letter, yellowed and brittle. Dearest Anna, I can't stay here. Hugo's offer is tempting, and I fear Manuel suspects the truth. But no matter what happens, our daughter is ours. Not his. Not theirs. I will always love you. Camila froze. Ramon? No, wait. She pulled out more letters. The initials changed. Some were signed M, others H. Don Hugo? Camila looked up at Anna. Who is Ramon? Anna shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. No, she whispered. R is Raphael. That night, Camila called Raphael to the estate. He arrived, confused and cautious. You said it was urgent, he said, stepping into the library. Camila handed him a letter. His eyes moved across the page. He stumbled back. I wrote this, he murmured. I know, Camila said, but I wrote this to Anna that year before she disappeared. His voice faltered. But why do you? Camila's voice was barely a whisper. Because she's my mother. Silence. Then Raphael sat down heavily. I didn't know she had the baby. She hid it, Camila said, from everyone, including you. He stared at her. So I'm your father? She looked at him, tears brimming. I don't know yet, but we have to find out. In the shadows, Ramon watched from a security feed, courtesy of Isabel Duarte's tech operatives. His eyes burned with fury. They're unraveling everything, he growled. Isabel stood beside him, calm and cold. Let them dig. The deeper they go, the worse the collapse. You always said Camila was dangerous. Now you just have to let the truth destroy her. Ramon nodded. But if Raphael turns out to be the father, he muttered. Isabel smiled. Then you leak something worse. Like Alejandro's blood ties to Lucia's mother. Ramon blinked. What? Isabel handed him a manila envelope. Secrets come in layers. Ramon. And you're not the only one who can play dirty. Later that night, Camila sat with Alejandro by the fire. Do you think I can survive this? She asked. What if I lose everything? Alejandro took her hand. Then we start again. But this time with truth. Camila leaned her head on his shoulder. I'm scared, she admitted. So am I, he said. But that never stopped us before. The courtroom buzzed like a hornet's nest. Reporters packed every pew. Lawyers whispered. Photographers adjusted lenses. On one side sat Camila Estrada La Vega, flanked by Alejandro and Raphael. On the other side, Ramon de la Vega, smug, calm, unreadable. At the center of it all, an aged document, curled at the edges like a dead leaf. A will. Ramon stood first. This, he said smoothly, lifting the pages like a priest holding scripture, is the real final will of Don Hugo de la Vega, handwritten, witnessed, dated 3 days after the publicly known version. Gasps echoed. He turned to the judge. This will makes me, Ramon de la Vega, the sole heir of all de la Vega holdings. Camila's throat went dry. She stood. That's impossible. Don Hugo already appointed Alejandro and Rafael in the certified will. Ramon smiled. Forged, likely by Manuel Estrada's influence. A forensic expert will testify to the inconsistencies in the ink. The judge raised an eyebrow. The court will review the claim. Until then, all Lucia Group assets and motions are frozen. Camila's knees buckled. Rafael caught her. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed like sharks in a bloody tide. Camila, is it true your father's was forged? Mr. Alejandro, will you step down as CEO? Rafael, rumors say you might be Camila's real father. Any comment? Security held the crowd back, but the damage was done. Later that night, the Lucia Group boardroom was a funeral parlor of silence. Executive files were locked. Accounts frozen. Deals halted. I've never seen anything like this, Navarro said grimly. He's using the law as a weapon. He knows we don't have time, Alejandro added. Investors are already threatening to pull out. Camila slammed a fist on the table. We're not giving in to this. Not now. Not after what we built. Navarro paused. There may be another way. He pulled out a USB drive. Encrypted file from Hugo's personal archive. If we find proof that Ramon coerced or manipulated Hugo during those final days, we could nullify the will, Rafael said, leaning forward. But we need someone to testify, Camila said. Navarro nodded. Someone who knew Ramon's tactics. Someone like... Camila's eyes widened. Lucia's mother. Meanwhile, Ramon sipped brandy in his estate study as Isabel Duarte entered with an icy grin. You've cracked their fortress, she said. For now, Ramon replied. But Camila is relentless. And Rafael, he's quiet. Too quiet. Isabel handed him a file. Let's make some noise, then. He opened it. Inside, a still image from an old security camera. Alejandro, barely 20, standing in front of a burning warehouse. Ramon's eyes lit up. Mexico City, he murmured. 2006, the fire. Let's give the world a reminder, Isabel said. Your nephew is no saint. Back at the estate, Camila sat by herself, staring out at the vineyard. Leaves rustled. Grapes hung heavy with weight. Alejandro walked up slowly. Lucia's asleep, he said. Camila didn't turn. Do you remember the last time the company was almost taken from us? Feels like yesterday, he murmured. It was yesterday, she said with a bitter smile. He reached for her hand. She let him hold it. We'll get through this, he said. She looked at him, pain flickering behind her gaze. You're still keeping something from me. He froze. What if I told you someone leaked something from your past? Alejandro went pale. The warehouse, he said softly. Camila nodded. I didn't know until today. He looked at the ground. I was young, drunk, angry. I lit a fire in protest. I didn't know anyone was inside. Camila stood. That video could destroy everything. Alejandro's voice broke. I know. And still, she held his hand. I just need to know one thing, she said. Did you ever lie to me? He looked into her eyes. No, never to you. She sighed, closing her eyes. Then we'll face it together. In the dark corners of the city, Navarro met with a woman in a tattered coat, her face hidden under a scarf. Are you the one they call Lucia's mother? He asked. She looked up, eyes fierce, voice low. She's not just Lucia's daughter, the woman said. She's Alejandro's and mine, and I have proof. Navarro blinked. She handed him a photograph. Lucia as a baby in Alejandro's arms. Navarro smiled. Then her eyes narrowed. But if you wanted to testify, I want something in return. The video hit the internet at 7:12 a.m. Grainy, distorted, but unmistakable. A teenage Alejandro de la Vega, standing before a warehouse engulfed in flames. The timestamp, 2006, Mexico City. His face turns to the camera before he runs. Within minutes, the clip was everywhere. News feeds, social media, morning talk shows. Hashtag De La Vega Fire. Hashtag Lucia group collapse. Hashtag so are arsonist. Camila watched in disbelief as pundits dissected it on live television. Could this be the end of Alejandro's career? What else is Lucia group hiding? Did Camila know and cover it up? In the boardroom, Alejandro stood frozen before the screen, color draining from his face. That night, he whispered, I didn't know anyone was inside. It wasn't supposed to catch. Navarro muted the broadcast. That fire killed security guard, Alejandro. Whether it was intentional or not, they'll twist it. I already gave a statement back then, Alejandro said. But it was buried. Don Hugo, he made it disappear. Camila paced, her arms cross-tight. Then Ramon must have dug it up. Rafael frowned and timed it perfectly. With the will, with the company freeze, he's dismantling us piece by piece. Navarro nodded grimly. And the shareholders are panicking. We need to act fast. Hours later, Alejandro faced the press. Cameras flashed. Microphones extended. I was 17, he said steadily. Angry. Rebellious. I lit a fire as protest. I didn't know it would catch the whole building. A voice from the crowd. Was anyone injured? Alejandro looked into the lens. Yes. A man died. I live with that every day. Silence. He continued. I cooperated with the investigation, but my grandfather intervened. He thought he was protecting me. That was a mistake. Another reporter. Will you step down from the Lucia group? Alejandro hesitated, then looked directly at Camila in the front row. No, he said, but I will take a leave of absence until this is resolved. My wife will lead in my place. Camila's breath caught. Alejandro stepped away from the podium. Back at home, Alejandro sat with Lucia, the 14-year-old daughter who had just begun calling him Dad. She stared at the screen, playing the video on repeat. Is it true? She asked softly. He nodded. Yes. Did you go to jail? No. I should have, but your great-grandfather covered it up. She studied him. Would you do it again? Alejandro blinked. No, never. Lucia nodded, then leaned her head on his shoulder. I don't care what they say. You're still my dad. Alejandro hugged her, tears threatening to fall. Camila worked late into the night, meeting with lawyers, board members, and crisis strategists. Still, the tide was against them. Then Isabel Duarte appeared in the lobby. Ms. de la Vega will see no one, the assistant said. Isabel smirked. Oh, I think she'll make an exception. Camila stepped out of the boardroom, tense. What do you want? Isabel extended a glossy white envelope. An offer. Camila opened it. Inside, a proposal for a merger. Duarte Global Times, Lucia Group. Co-CEO, Isabel Duarte and Camila Estrada, La Vega. Contingent on Alejandro's full removal. Camila's fingers curled around the paper. You want me to cut down my husband for survival? Isabel leaned in. I want you to win. But you can't win with a man dragging your legacy through the mud. Camila's voice turned to ice. You destroyed your own family's legacy. Don't mistake me for you. Isabel's smile widened. We're more alike than you think. Meanwhile, in a dark security room, Navarro analyzed the warehouse fire footage frame by frame. Suddenly, he paused. Something in the top right corner. A car. A license plate. He zoomed. Enhanced. It wasn't Alejandro's car. It was Ramon's. Navarro's jaw dropped. He picked up his phone. Rafael, we may have just found a real arsonist. The silence between Camila and Alejandro was louder than any storm. He stood by the living room window of their estate, watching Lucia's school van pull away. Camila sat at the kitchen island, reading the Duarte proposal again for the third time that morning. You still haven't said a word, he finally broke. She closed the file. Because if I do, I might say something I can't take back. Alejandro turned. Then say it. Her eyes flashed. The world thinks you're a murderer. I'm not. But you were reckless. And you let your grandfather bury the truth. You handed Ramon the one thing he needed to destroy us. Alejandro's voice cracked. I made a mistake when I was 17. You lied by omission, Alejandro. That's not a mistake. That's a fault line in a marriage. That afternoon, the Lucia group board convened behind closed doors. Without Alejandro, Camila took the seat at the head of the table. Until the investigation into the 2006 warehouse incident is resolved, she said calmly, I will be serving as interim CEO. There were no objections, but many avoided her gaze. Then came a question from an older board member. Have you considered accepting the Duarte merger? Camila met his eyes. Lucia Group is not for sale, and it never will be. The door burst open. Rafael, he looked disheveled, holding a folder. I have something you all need to see, he said breathlessly. Camila frowned. What is it? A witness statement, he said, throwing it on the table. Navarro found security footage from 2006. There was another car at the scene before the fire. Whispers filled the room. Camila picked up the photos. Ramon's car. Rafael continued. He was there before the fire, before Alejandro. If we can prove it, this entire scandal flips. Camila stood. Then we need the full tape. Navarro still working? Rafael hesitated. No, he disappeared yesterday. No call. No trace. Camila's face drained. Then Ramon has him. Later that night, Camila returned to the estate to find Alejandro alone in the garden. She walked over quietly. He didn't look up. I saw Lucia today, she said gently. She defended you, told off a girl at school who called you a criminal. Alejandro exhaled. She shouldn't have to protect me. Camila hesitated. I'm asking you to step back, just until this clears. Alejandro turned, heartbroken. You're asking me to leave? I'm asking you to protect the company. He took a step closer. What about protecting us? Camila's eyes shimmered. I don't know what us is anymore. They stood inches apart. Then, quietly, Alejandro walked past her into the house. She didn't stop him. Hours later, Camila stood in Lucia's bedroom doorway, watching the girl sleep. She clutched a drawing, her, Alejandro and Camila, holding hands under a sun with a smiley face. Tears welled up in Camila's eyes. Then her phone buzzed. A private number. She answered. A voice, young, shaky. Are you Camila de la Vega? Yes. Who is this? I'm with Navarro. He's alive, but he's trapped. I can help you, but I need something in return. At exactly noon, Isabel Duarte arrived at the Lucia Group Tower, this time flanked by her full legal team and a camera crew. Camila stood at the top of the marble staircase, refusing to descend. From the cameras below, Isabel offered a carefully worded statement. We believe in resilience, and we believe in reinvention, which is why Duarte Global is offering a full merger with Lucia Group, contingent upon the resignation of Alejandro de la Vega and a redirection of power to those who have the clarity and conscience to lead. Gasps from the press. Camila didn't move. Not yet. Isabel looked up, eyes piercing. You are one of those people, Camila. You can either go down with the past or build the future with me. Later, in the executive suite, Camila read the fine print. No trace of emotion crossed her face as she saw the clause. Camila Estrada La Vega agrees to dissolve her marital partnership to Alejandro de la Vega prior to the finalization of this merger. She looked up. You want me to divorce my husband to save my company. Isabel shrugged. I want you to choose power over weakness, justice over sentiment. I want you to do what your father never could. Win. Camila stood. You blame me for what my father did to your family. Isabel didn't flinch. He destroyed my mother, left her bankrupt. You wear his name. That's enough. A beat of silence. Then Camila smiled, cold and elegant. Thank you for your offer. I'll respond in kind. She left Isabel standing alone in the suite. At home, Alejandro sat on the back patio watching the vines twist under a gray sky. Lucia approached him quietly, holding something behind her back. A drawing? He asked gently. Lucia shook her head and produced a folded piece of paper. A letter, she said, from Navarro. He left it in my backpack. I didn't see it until after school. Alejandro unfolded it. It read, They've taken me to Duarte Holdings outside the city. Basement level 3. I have the original footage and everything that can bring Ramon down. But they know they're going to bury it. Hurry. Alejandro stood, adrenaline surging. They have him. Lucia clutched his arm. Are you going to do something? I'm going to do everything. Back at Lucia Group, Camila met privately with Navarro's contact, a young courier named Sanny. Thin, scared, but loyal. I work surveillance for Duarte, he said. They don't know I switched sides. Navarro paid me in silence. But I can get you in. Camila nodded. Then we moved tonight. Raphael burst through the door. We don't have tonight. He tossed a fresh envelope onto her desk. Camila opened it and nearly gasped. A high-resolution photo. Her mother, Ana Estrada, holding a newborn baby. In the background, Ramon, smiling. Camila's knees buckled. Where did this come from? She whispered. Raphael shook his head. Isabel sent it, with a note. Don't make the same mistakes your mother made. Camila's breath caught. Was she Ramon's daughter? That night, in the wine cellar, Camila sat across from her mother, Ana. Candlelight danced across the stone walls. You knew they'd send that picture, Camila said coldly. Ana looked away. Is it true? Camila demanded. Ana reached for her hand. It's complicated. Camila pulled away. No, it's not. Did you sleep with him? Yes, Ana whispered. Before I married your father. Camila's eyes brimmed. Am I his child? Anna's voice trembled. No, but I wanted you to believe you were. Camila stood, trembling. Why? Because your father, Don Manuel, he was cruel, possessive. He would have destroyed you if he knew you were his. I made you Ramon's daughter on paper to protect you. Camila turned to the door. Then your lie nearly destroyed me. Meanwhile, Alejandro met Raphael by a secluded road. Sanny guided them to a hidden service tunnel beneath Duarte Holdings. Dark, cold, silent, they descended into basement level 3. They found Navarro, bloody but alive, chained to a pipe. Alejandro rushed to him. We're here. Navarro coughed. The drive, it's hidden under the vent panel. It has everything. Ramon's car at the fire, his bribes, his deal with Isabel. Raphael retrieved the device. We end this tomorrow, he said. Navarro coughed again, grinning weakly. You better. Or I came back from hell for nothing. Dawn broke over the La Vega vineyard like fire, golden, burning, full of reckoning. Raphael walked the rows alone, an old cigar box in hand. Inside, letters, faded envelopes, stained edges, all addressed to one man, Don Hugo de la Vega, all signed by Ramon. The last letter, dated just days before Hugo's death, was the one that mattered. If you do not sign the new will, the footage goes public. The Mexico fire, your grandson's mistake, and the adoption that was never legal. Don't test me, old man. Sign it, or I destroy him and what's left of you. Raphael closed the box with shaking hands. It wasn't just Alejandro. Ramon had been controlling the family for decades, with threats and buried truths. Back in the city, Camila stood before the Lucia Group board, her face steel, her voice calm. I want to call an emergency session, she said. We have evidence that the original de la Vega will was signed under duress, and that Ramon de la Vega falsified key legal documents to secure his own claim. There was a stir among the board members. Camila continued. I also have the full surveillance footage of the 2006 fire, and proof that Ramon was on the scene before Alejandro arrived. One board member raised a brow. And where is this proof? A side door opened. Navarro, bruised but alive, walked in. He held up the hard drive. Right here. In a sleek boardroom across town, Isabel Duarte poured herself wine. She's coming for you, her assistant said nervously. Isabel smiled, savoring her sip. Let her. Camila still believes in honor. That's her weakness. The assistant swallowed. But if Ramon falls, so do you. I've survived worse than the La Vega tantrum. Just then, her phone pinged. One new message. It was a picture of Camila and Alejandro holding hands at the vineyard. The caption read, "We're stronger than your secrets. Try us." Isabel's smile faded. That night, Raphael snuck into Duarte Global's archive center with Navarro. It was silent until alarms blared. Security grid changed. Navarro hissed. They were expecting us. They sprinted down a hall as men in suits rushed in. Raphael veered right and crashed through a locked door into a darkened vault. There, in a fireproof drawer, he found it. The original 2006 footage. Not doctored, not cropped. It showed Alejandro pulling up after the warehouse was already ablaze. The real arsonist? A shadowed figure slipping out the back, later matched to one of Ramon's men. Raphael stuffed it in his jacket. Just as security burst in, he tossed a drive to Navarro through a closing gate. "Go!" They dragged Raphael away. Back at the estate, Lucia asked Camila a simple question. If I'm Alejandro's daughter, and that means I'm part of the La Vega family, why don't I have a say? Camila knelt beside her. "You do." Lucia smiled. "Then I want to help." "How?" Lucia pulled out her tablet and played a video. "Your phones were hacked. I found this clip on a backup." It was Isabel Duarte in her office admitting, "Camila thinks this is about a merger. It's revenge. I want her legacy to rot, just like my mother's did." Camila stared at the screen. Then she picked up her phone. "Call every board member. We meet tomorrow. Publicly." Rain swept across the Lucia group's rooftop garden. But Camila stood tall in a crimson coat, her hair pinned like a queen ready for war. Across from her, beneath a dark umbrella, stood Ramon de la Vega, impeccably dressed, hands gloved, heart unreadable. "You called me here," Ramon said. "I assume you have something more than nostalgia to offer." Camila's eyes didn't blink. "A deal," she said. He chuckled. "A de la Vega who bargains instead of burns? Impressive. Leave the company. Publicly. Withdraw all legal claims. In return, we won't press charges for your decades of fraud, blackmail, and corporate sabotage." Ramon gave a slow clap. "You think I'd trade my legacy for peace?" "I think you've already lost your legacy," Camila replied. "This is just a way to save face." He leaned in. "You're bluffing." Camila handed him a folder. Inside, DNA results, forged with documents, Raphael's letter discovery, surveillance footage, all tied to him. Ramon's jaw stiffened. "You forgot one thing," he murmured. "What?" He slid a photo from his coat pocket. Camila froze. It was a grainy image, her mother, Ana Estrada, cradling a newborn while Ramon looked a hand on Anna's shoulder. "You're not just my niece," Ramon whispered. "You're my daughter." Camila's knees wobbled. Ramon leaned closer. "You want to destroy me? You'll be destroying yourself too." An hour later, Camila sat alone in her suite, staring at the photo. Rain tapped the windows like ticking clocks. Isabel Duarte's voice broke the silence. On speakerphone. "You saw it, didn't you?" Isabel said smugly, "The child of scandal. You and I, we were never so different." Camila exhaled slowly. "Tell me what you want." "A legacy that matches my pain," Isabel said. "You step down. Alejandro disappears. I get the company, and you get to walk away with your family intact." Camila didn't answer. Isabel added softly, "Or we release the footage of your husband's Mexico fire, your illegitimacy, your mother's betrayal, and you'll watch the Lucia group collapse, with your name etched into fall." Click. The line went dead. Camila drove to her mother's cottage that night. No guards, no press, just answers. Ana opened the door slowly, wine glass trembling. "Did he show you the photo?" Camila nodded. "Tell me it's a lie." Ana Saturday, "No, but not the way you think." "I'm his daughter?" Camila asked, voice raw. "No," Ana wiped a tear. "But I told Ramon you were years ago, because I was afraid of what Don Manuel would do if he knew the truth." Camila's voice cracked. "Then what is the truth?" Ana took a deep breath. "You were conceived the night Don Manuel forced me to stay in Spain against my will. I never told anyone, not even him. You are his child, but I tried to protect you from his legacy by telling Ramon you weren't. Camila sat back, stunned. All these years, I thought I didn't belong to either of them. You belong to yourself, Anna whispered, and you built something none of them ever could. Meanwhile, at Duarte Global, Isabel watched Raphael's fake resignation video loop across every news station. She smiled, until her assistant rushed in, pale and trembling. "It's a trap," he gasped. "They're not resigning. They're exposing everything." Her smile faded. Back at Lucia Group headquarters, Camila and Alejandro took the stage together, broadcast to the nation. Camila stepped forward. "My name is Camila Estrada La Vega, and I was born into legacy, raised by secrets and nearly destroyed by lies." Gasps. Cameras flashed. She continued, "Today, we reveal what was hidden, not to protect the guilty, but to free the innocent." Alejandro took her hand. "I made mistakes, but I never started that fire. I was set up, and thanks to my brother, we have the truth." The screen behind him lit up with proof. Forged wills, surveillance, and the voice of Ramon, blackmailing Don Hugo. Far away, in a private estate, Don Manuel Estrada, once thought to be dying, watched the broadcast in silence. A nurse approached with the phone. "It's for you," she said. "It's Camila." Don Manuel hesitated, then answered. "I saw," he said. Camila's voice came through, clear and steady. "I built something you couldn't, and I did it without becoming you." Don Manuel didn't reply, but when the call ended, a single tear fell from his eye. Camila stood at the threshold of her mother's bedroom, the storm outside echoing the tempest inside her. "I need to hear it again," she said. Ana Estrada sat quietly on the edge of her bed, hands folded over a box of old journals. "I lied to protect you," she whispered. "From men like Ramon, from a family name that strangled everything good in us." Camila stepped inside. "So I'm not Ramon's daughter?" "No," Ana said. "I made that up years ago. After you were born, I feared what Don Manuel would do if he ever discovered the truth about you, about how you came into this world. So I planted the idea in Ramon's head. I let him believe you were his." Camila's voice trembled. "Why now? Why keep it secret until now?" "Because I didn't think you'd survive knowing the truth. But you're stronger than I ever was. And now, you deserve to choose your own blood." She slid the journals across the bed. Camila opened one. Inside were drawings, letters, receipts, notes, all chronicling a woman trapped between powerful men and painful choices. In the middle of it all, "Camila, you're not born of legacy," Ana whispered. "You built one." Across town, in a private suite atop Duarte Global, Isabel Duarte downed a glass of dark red wine and hurled it against the wall. "They lied to us," she growled. Beside her, Ramon de la Vega fumed. "They're rallying the board. Raphael's staging a redemption arc, Camila's one public favor again." Isabel turned to him. "Then we go nuclear." "You mean?" "Yes, the Estrada scandal." Ramon hesitated. "That means exposing Camila's mother. And possibly," he trailed off. Isabel's eyes blazed. "Her father, her true one." He gave a slow nod. "Then we use her mother's voice to do it." The next morning, Camila entered Lucia Group's legal wing, where Navarro waited with good news. "We have confirmation. Ramon blackmailed Don Hugo into changing the will. And the footage? Unedited. Distributed to every board member, and the press has a copy if anything happens to us." Camila exhaled. "What about Isabel?" Navarro smiled grimly. "She just lost 2 major sponsors. Duarte's stock is dropping." But their relief was short-lived. A video leaked online. Grainy footage, spliced from old Estrada home tapes. Anna's voice narrated over it. "I kept the secret from my daughter. Ramon, he deserved to know the truth. Camila is his." Camila froze. "That's doctored." Alejandro came up behind her. "We need to get ahead of this." But Camila's hands were shaking. "I don't even know what's true anymore." He cupped her face gently. "Then let's go to the only place where truth doesn't hide behind cameras." That afternoon, Camila and Alejandro visited Don Manuel Estrada, her presumed father, in his estate. He was older, weaker now, but his eyes still held embers. "You came," he said. Camila sat across from him. "I need to know the truth. Were you my father?" Don Manuel studied her. "I was the one who raised you, taught you how to fight, how to build. But if you're asking if your blood is mine, no, it never was." Camila's breath caught. "Then who?" Don Manuel looked out the window. "A man Anna met once. A man who died before you could ever meet him. You were never a pawn in my war. You were my redemption." Camila nodded, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for telling me." Don Manuel reached out, placing something in her hand. A small gold pin, etched with the Estrada family crest. "You're not my daughter by blood," he said, "but you're the only heir who ever earned the name." Back at Lucia Group headquarters, Lucia waited for Camila. "Is it true," she asked, "that I'm not who I thought I was?" Camila said softly, "Yes." Lucia took her hand. "Then I guess we both get to write new stories." Camila smiled through her tears. That night, Camila called a press conference. She stood beside Alejandro, Rafael, and Navarro. "My mother made mistakes. So did I. But we stand here not because of what we inherited, but because of what we've built." Alejandro added, "This company belongs to no one person. It belongs to its people and to its future." Suddenly, flashing lights exploded as Ramon and Isabel Duarte were escorted into the building. Police, led by Navarro, presented the warrants. "Ramon de la Vega," Isabel Duarte, Navarro announced, "You are under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, extortion, and attempted corporate sabotage." Gasps. Cameras rolled. Camila didn't gloat. She turned to the cameras and said only this: "We rise not by blood, but by truth." Lucia stood in the middle of the Lucia Group's atrium, staring at the giant portrait of Don Hugo de la Vega that loomed overhead. People whispered around her about the arrests, about the bloodline scandals, about her. The headline still screamed, "Heir exposed, Alejandro's secret daughter confirmed." She turned at the sound of footsteps. Alejandro approached, his suit jacket folded over one arm, his face worn from war. "Did the lawyers tell you what happens next?" she asked. "They always do," he said softly. "But I came to ask you something different." Lucia raised an eyebrow. "What?" Alejandro knelt beside her chair. "If I'm your father, will you let me start acting like one?" She blinked. "Why would you want to?" He swallowed. "Because for years, I thought I had to be perfect to be a father. But I've realized what makes a man a parent is a decision to stay, even when it's hard. And I want to stay." Lucia studied his eyes for a long moment, then gave the faintest nod. "You can start by not calling me young lady." Alejandro laughed through tears. Upstairs, Camila stood with Navarro, looking over final edits to their media release. "We'll be clearing Rafael's name publicly," she said, "and he'll be rejoining the board after the vote." Navarro nodded. "He's already won back most of the investors. You should see how they treat him now, like he's risen from the ashes." Camila smiled faintly. "That's because he has." "And Alejandro?" She hesitated. "That's up to him. And me. We haven't talked about us since the trial." Navarro tilted his head. "Camila, he hasn't stopped loving you." She looked down. "I know. I just didn't know if love would be enough after everything." Navarro smiled gently. "Sometimes it's all we have. Sometimes it's all we need." That night, Camila stood in the boardroom alone, watching the city lights shimmer like stars falling to earth. The doors opened behind her. Alejandro walked in, a quiet presence at first, then stepped forward. "I saw the press release," he said. "I meant every word." He took a breath. "Then there's one word I need to hear from you." Camila turned. "I want to rebuild what we lost," he said. "Not the company. The vows." Camila's breath caught. Alejandro reached into his pocket and pulled out a modest gold ring. "I never gave you this when we married the first time. I want to do it right." Tears formed in her eyes. She stepped forward, placing her hand in his. Then let's write new vows. 2 weeks later, in the vineyards of Spain, at the very place where Raphael had once nearly lost everything, the de la Vegas and Estradas gathered beneath an arch of white roses. Camila wore a cream lace dress. Alejandro, a light gray suit. Lucia stood between them, holding both their hands. Navarro was there with his partner, smiling proudly. Raphael beside them, newly reinstated and solemn-eyed. Even Don Manuel Estrada, watching from a distance, came quiet, dignified. As the sun dipped low, the officiant stepped forward. Camila, Alejandro, today you choose each other again. Not for legacy, not for empire, but for love. Camila turned to Alejandro. I once vowed to build with you, she said. But today I vow to be with you in every storm, every rebuilding, every breath. Alejandro took her hands. I once vowed to protect the company, he said. But today I vow to protect you and the family we found together. Lucia beamed between them. You may now seal your vow. They kissed, and the vineyard burst into cheers. Later, at the reception, Raphael toasted with a glass of Estrada wine. To second chances, he said, raising it high, and to the family we choose. Navarro clinked his glass, and to burning bridges when they lead to nowhere. Everyone laughed. In a quiet corner, Lucia whispered Camila, you know, I think I want to run a foundation someday. Camila smiled. Then you will, and you'll name it whatever you want. Lucia grinned. The Lucia Foundation, helping girls like me find dads who show up. Camila kissed her forehead. Perfect. As the stars blanketed the Spanish sky, Camila and Alejandro danced slowly under the lights, barefoot, their laughter light and unburdened. No more secrets, Camila whispered. No more thrones, Alejandro replied. Just love, they said together. And this time they meant it. The Lucia group boardroom was prepared like a war room, sleek, pristine, and deadly quiet. Camila stood at the head of the table, papers spread before her like battle plans. Navarro flanked her, eyes on the ticking clock. Across the table sat investors, advisors, and high-ranking stakeholders, each waiting for the dramatic vote that would shape the company's future. Raphael adjusted his tie, locking eyes with Camila. You ready? He asked. She gave a slight nod. Let's finish what we started. The doors swung open. Ramon entered, smug, flanked by Isabel Duarte, icy and regal in navy blue. The room froze. Well, Ramon purred. What a touching little reunion. Is this the part where you beg? Camila gestured to the empty seat. This is the part where you finally answer for what you've done. 2 hours earlier, in Duarte Global's archive vault in Barcelona, Navarro had slipped to a final security checkpoint using a stolen keycard. The letters, the fake will, the altered financial records, all of it laid in coded folders marked Ramon DLV. But before he could escape, 2 Duarte guards tackled him. That was when Raphael, disguised as a courier, slipped in behind them, wielding an old vineyard cane like a sword. 1 guard dropped. Navarro threw the flash drive to Raphael just before being pinned. Take it. You sure? I've been sure since Camila said yes. Go. Raphael ran, and he didn't look back. Now, back in the boardroom, Camila opened a flash drive Navarro had hidden inside a decoy wine bottle. Before today's vote, she said, voice steady, I'd like to present evidence, recorded in Don Hugo's handwriting and supported by original legal filings, that Ramon forged key inheritance documents using blackmail and deception. Gasps broke out. Ramon froze. Isabel narrowed her eyes. That's impossible. Camila clicked the remote. The screen filled with scanned documents. Then, a hidden audio file, Don Hugo's voice crackling over old tape. I never intended for Ramon to inherit. He manipulated me when I was weak. This is not my will. Ramon stood violently, knocking over his chair. This is a lie. It's all a damn lie. Camila raised a hand. No, it's the last truth. The doors burst open. Police entered. Ramon de la Vega and Isabel Duarte, the lead officer, said, You're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, document forgery, and obstruction of corporate investigation. The boardroom erupted. Isabel stood motionless as Ramon was handcuffed. You'll regret this, he shouted. You don't know what's coming. But his voice faded as they dragged him out. Outside, in the lobby, Lucia clung to Alejandro's hand. They're arresting him, she said. He nodded. Justice takes time. But today we got a piece of it. Lucia looked up. Does that mean you'll be CEO again? He smiled faintly. Maybe, but it means your mom will get to keep building something honest. And you and Mom are still together? He knelt beside her. We're stronger than we've ever been, because we stopped hiding. Lucia hugged him, and for once, it felt like home. Later that night, Navarro returned, bruised but smiling. Camila rushed to him. You okay? He grinned. You should see the other guy. Or maybe not. He was huge. Navarro's partner ran to him, throwing arms around his neck. Raphael handed Navarro a glass of wine. To crazy plans and escaping through wine cellars. Navarro raised his glass. To family that fights smart. As the headlines flashed across every screen, the La Vega scandal ends in arrests, company votes to reinstate Estrada leadership. Camila stood alone at the rooftop balcony. Alejandro approached quietly. Think it's really over? She asked. No, he said, wrapping his arms around her. But I think it's finally beginning. The sun broke over Madrid with quiet resolve. Inside the newly renovated Lucia Group headquarters, light streamed through the glass atrium onto floor where once Betrayal had dancing whispers. Now laughter echoed. Camila stood at a podium, flanked by Alejandro and Lucia, with Navarro and Raphael close behind. Reporters gathered for the press conference that would mark the rebirth of the company. Camila adjusted the mic. Today, we begin again, not just as business leaders, but as truth-tellers. Lucia Group has always stood for legacy, but today it stands for legacy redefined. Applause rippled through the hall. She continued, We are launching Lucia Foundation, a global initiative to support children impacted by corruption, violence, and systemic neglect. Because if legacy means anything, it should mean hope. Alejandro stepped forward, eyes warm. This idea was inspired by someone who reminded me that love isn't just given, it's chosen. And today, I choose to be a better father, a better husband, and a builder of something far greater than profit. Lucia tugged his sleeve and whispered, You practiced that in the mirror, didn't you? Alejandro chuckled. Twice. Hours later, in a quiet villa outside Seville, Don Manuel Estrada watched the press conference alone. The volume was low, but the image of Camila on screen said enough. He poured himself a glass of wine, his last vintage, and raised it in solemn silence. To the daughter I didn't deserve, but somehow helped save everything. He reached for the phone. For the first time in years, he called Camila. When she answered, he said only 3 words. I see now. Camila's breath hitched. What do you see? That you've built what I never could, he said. Then he hung up. No need for more. In the vineyards of southern Spain, Raphael walked with Navarro between rows of sunlit grapes. I don't know what to do now, Raphael admitted. I've never led without a storm overhead. Navarro nudged him. Then build in the sunshine. Your name is cleared. Your soul's been tested. Maybe now it's time to plant something for yourself. Raphael smiled. You always make it sound so easy. It's not easy. It's just worth it. Navarro paused, then reached into his coat. A small velvet box. Raphael blinked. What's that? I'm going to ask Marco to marry me, Navarro said, grinning. I figure we've all had enough secrets. Raphael slapped his shoulder. About damn time. Meanwhile, in Lucia's new bedroom, a space filled with books, guitars, and science kits, Camila tucked her in. You know, tomorrow we meet with architects to design the Lucia Foundation's first shelter, Camila said. Lucia grinned. Can I help? I want a treehouse on top. Camila laughed. Treehouse approved. Lucia looked thoughtful. Do you think I'm really part of this family? Camila leaned in close. Sweetheart, you are the roots of this family now. Lucia nodded, then whispered, Then I guess we're all new trees. That night, Alejandro and Camila sat on their rooftop barefoot, sharing a bottle of Estrada La Vega blend. Do you miss the chaos? Camila asked, leaning on his shoulder. Alejandro smiled. No, I miss the silence we used to share before it. They clinked glasses. Camila tilted her head. It's quiet now. Alejandro pulled her close. Then let's protect it, for as long as we can. Below them, the lights of Madrid shimmered, cleaner, softer, and full of possibility. A soft breeze rolled across the hillside vineyard in La Rioja, Spain, carried with the scent of harvest and the sound of strings warming up. Rows of wooden chairs face a natural altar of olive branches and wildflowers, with a de la Vega crest carved into stone behind it, beside the Estrada family seal. Camila stood before a mirror in a lace ivory dress, her hair crowned with lavender sprigs. Navarro adjusted her necklace. You face boardrooms, betrayals, and blackmail, but I've never seen you look nervous. She smiled. I'm not nervous. I'm at peace. Outside, Alejandro buttoned the cuffs of his white shirt. Lucia handed him a folded paper. What's this? He asked. My vows, she whispered. You're marrying Mom again. That means I get to say something too. He swallowed hard, heartful. You'll be the best part of this day. As the ceremony began, family and friends gathered. Rafael and Marco at the front, Navarro with his arm around his fiancée. Even Don Manuel sat in the back row, quiet but present, a peace offering. Camila walked down the vineyard path as the quartet played softly, every footstep writing the final page of a long-fought story. Alejandro turned as she approached, eyes shining. You always was Storm. Now you're the sun. Camila laughed. And you were always the roots, steady, no matter how hard I try to run. The officiant began. Today, Alejandro and Camila renew the vows not only of marriage, but of rebirth. After betrayal, they chose forgiveness. After loss, they chose family. After empire, they chose love. They each spoke vows, words soft, broken, real. And then Lucia stepped forward, holding her paper with both hands. I used to sleep on floors. I used to think secrets made people leave, she said. But Mom and Dad showed me that truth makes people stay. So I say yes to this family. Forever. Camila cried openly. Alejandro lifted Lucia into a hug as the crowd stood to clap. At the reception, Rafael toasted the couple. To the vines that grow back stronger after the fire. To the truth that was never too late. And to the empire we didn't inherit, we built it ourselves. Navarro raised his glass. And to love, because it's the only throne worth keeping. Later, in the golden hour, Camila and Alejandro stood near the edge of the vineyard, watching Lucia chase fireflies with Marco. Can you believe it? Camila whispered that we're here. Alejandro said, or that we survived everything it took to get here. Both, she said. He took her hand. What now? No more secrets, she said. He leaned in, forehead to hers. No more thrones. She smiled, echoing their vow. Just love. They kissed as the last light of the day wrapped around them. This was a Stories Box exclusive. Subscribe to follow our stories. Till next time, thank you for watching.